Well, good morning and welcome once again to Garden America. Speaking of gardens, we're in a garden. Hi, I'm Brian Main along with John Begnasco, Tiger Palafox. And again, for the third week in a row, third straight week, we are broadcasting from the backyard of Tiger Palafox here in beautiful, wonderful, overcast San Diego, California, John.
Beautiful one.
Is that correct? Is this the third week? Because
Yes.
the newsletter said it was the first week.
Well, did you want to broach that topic?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, I noticed
You're
in the
the one
newsletter,
who pointed it out.
I just noticed that John, I think that was a newsletter from 2 weeks ago when it was our first time here.
I use old newsletters, the template, and I put in replacements for the coming week.
Yeah,
Right.
just new information, whatever
And
they
I
updated.
forgot to replace.
It's a cut and paste.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I forgot to replace that part.
So this is actually our third week in a row here at
Yeah.
Tigers, not as
But-
the newsletter says.
And we did 3 different places so far, which is pretty cool, right? Like we
Here-
did
yes.
up by the house,
Oh,
we
yeah.
did it in the middle of the grass, and now we're down below. So we're showing people throughout the yard
Right.
during our show.
And we are a little bit further away from the Wi-Fi connection.
Yes.
That's all I'm going to say.
Yes. Let's just
How are
leave
we
it at
doing,
that.
John? And John got himself on the phone. He found the show. He's hooked up. He's tanned,
Sees
ready, and
comments.
rested.
Turned
Yeah.
off the volume so it doesn't interrupt.
Exactly.
I want to thank our good friend Carla in Huntington Beach, because last week we asked for suggestions for the newsletter. We said, hey, if you have a topic you want me to write about, go ahead. And she came up with a topic, and I used it for the feature article, and it was interesting. I got to research old catalogs, which I really never.
She gave you something to do.
I collect old Rose catalogs, but
I was going to say, because you collect these
Yeah.
catalogs.
yeah.
So as a collector, there's only so much room sometimes, right? And catalogs come out annually, so
Right.
so
Now they're
at
on-
what point in time do you kind of be like, this one isn't worth it for me to have anymore?
I think once online started.
Oh. So you just nowadays the catalogs that come out today
Right.
are not of value to you.
Not to me.
Yeah. Yeah, to
But-
you.
They're really expensive compared to what you can do online.
Yeah.
And then you got postage,
Yeah.
for the catalog too.
And,
and-
don't
and
forget
with
the handling
online-
fee. There's handling too.
You know,
Don't
with-
forget handling.
Don't even get me started on handling fees.
And with online, one of the coolest things about online catalogs today, and I'm not talking just about plants, but about everything, is, back in the day, they used to sell you based on the photo that was
Right.
put for the plant
Right.
or for the outfit or the
Yes.
shirt or the toy,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
They used to put a lot of effort into that artistry and that photograph. Well, the cool thing nowadays is that you, as a member of the public, can also post pictures a lot of times. So for instance, like a plant, like a rose,
Right.
you might have it growing in your yard. You take a photo, you can post it to that catalog photo, and then someone in Sacramento can do it, and someone in Iowa can do it, and someone here can do it, someone there. So you can see like, oh, well, look at all these pictures of this rose. This is how it really looks in real life.
And a lot of websites have reviews right there.
That right
for
there,
that, yeah,
for that
so you
sin.
can say, oh, well, this person lives in San Diego, and look at it.
It
Right. they
looks
like it.
gorgeous,
Yeah.
or it works well there.
Yeah.
And so now there's this almost real aspect of the online catalog to see like, what am I really getting? Because when we were just shopping
Yes.
out of catalogs before, they gave you that's like when people used to come to me and they used to open up like the Better Homes and Garden magazine and be like, I want my yard to look like this. I'm like, that is great.
But you
that
gotta
was
move to England.
yeah, and there was a lot of energy and effort that went in for that one photo shoot.
Right.
And not only that, you see that plant right there? That doesn't even really sit there. They probably just staged that plant for the photo,
No, it's like a house when you go walk
Yes.
through a house and they stage it. Exactly.
Well, now that you bring that up, do you guys, a little off topic, and we usually don't
We
do
never
that.
go
Never,
off topic,
right.
so
Never.
be careful.
Stay on
But
the script.
do you ever notice watching a movie where they're supposed to be in one area and you go, eucalyptus don't grow there?
I don't know if Brian does, but I do. I
Yeah.
do see that. Yeah.
I notice other.
Yeah, or there's a ficus.
Yeah.
It's like, you can't have a ficus in Minnesota.
Or-
I do catch things that are not synchronicity. Wait a second, they just went down that road, and that car's not there anymore.
yeah.
Or here's another one you
But
can look
that's
at.
Twilight Zone. You
yeah,
expect that.
exactly. That's expected.
Here's one that I catch too. When you want to catch an edit that's not so obvious, say, hey, his hair was hanging down over his forehead 2 seconds ago. Now it's combed.
Yeah.
You know, where they stop and somebody on set does that. But yeah, anything, that's out of whack or not, the synchronicity aspect of something that most people would never have never caught that.
Or like a flower that's on a bush that can't have that flower.
Right.
Like they'll put hibiscus flowers on everything because they can just stage them, right?
Right.
And they're very colorful and beautiful and they're big. But you're looking at the leaf and you're like, that's not a hibiscus bush. That's.
Have you ever wondered why some old movies are black and whites, how the streets are always wet? Have you noticed that, like in Twilight Zone or something?
Yeah.
Well, I finally looked it up. Why are the streets always wet? It has to do with lighting and shooting and camera and reflection and how it appeals to your eye as somebody watching.
Yeah.
That
it's just very dull.
Yes.
Like, you don't pick it up if it's not
But
wet.
I'm always wondering,
Sets
it's
the
always
mood.
wet. It's always just rained.
Yeah. Well, it's also because, it wherever they shot it at. No.
Tanya in San Jose gave me a little support here, Brian, and maybe a correction for you.
Oh, please do.
Yeah, your comment on the newsletter, Tanya points out this is the first time in this location at Tigers.
There you go.
I take it back. I take it back.
Thanks, Tanya. I appreciate that.
I'm sorry that I attacked you, John, especially over the air.
Yeah.
How rude. How rude. So now next week, Tiger, we're going to be in the pool house?
Yeah, we're going to be in the pool.
In the pool.
In the pool. Yeah.
Why
exactly. Yeah. So
Why
bring
not?
your bathing suits.
How about any comments yet? Anything going on besides
there's
Tanya
a lot of chatter.
embarrassing me in front of the public and the nation and the world?
Yeah, there's a lot of chatter happening right now, but
I hope it's good chatter.
I do.
Hey, Carol is calling from Tucson, and or watching from Tucson, I should say, and she said they had a really good rain,
Oh, nice.
and
Yes,
it's kind of unusual for us for September. We've had rain on and on.
was
too.
supposed
and it was
to
a
rain
good rain.
today.
Yeah.
And it was a good rain.
It was supposed to rain today.
Yeah, small percentage.
Yeah.
At least in Fallbrook was like 10% or something like that.
Yeah. But the rain that we got was actual like measurable rain, where normally we get a rain and it's almost just misting of the streets or something.
Right.
But this was actually saturating the soil, and the plants responded to it. It was really nice. So
I'm trying to get ready for the auction, and I have to transplant some roses, and this is perfect.
Oh, perfect.
Transplanting weather. And speaking of transplanting,
I was going to say, did we want to tell people why that camera switches over to that table now and
yeah,
then?
that's true.
I
We
don't know
should.
if they know what that camera is.
The camera that's on the orchid mix and orchid bark and
it's
orchid
on. The
fruit.
camera's
Looking
on
at
there right now.
Okay, I see where you're
We are
going.
live from Tiger's backyard, looking at the orchid
for the
table.
first time in this location. But we were going to talk about dividing plants, but specifically orchids today, right?
Now,
Yeah.
before we went on the air, we conquered first, right, John?
Yeah, now we're going to divide.
Right. Okay,
Yeah.
we got that out of the way.
But yeah, I
That's
mean, the topic today I think is going to be fun. I will say for our listeners that are joining us via Biz Talk Radio Network that it will be a very visual show. We will do our best to
We'll do our
describe
best to
what's
describe
happening.
it.
And at the same time, if you are very interested in what we're listening or what you're listening to, go to our Facebook page, go to our YouTube channel, and you'll be able to review the show after the fact, because there will be some things that are going to be very visual when it comes to dividing the orchids, how to prepare it, what soil to use, little things to kind of know, about dividing orchids and going from
And
there.
like Tiger mentioned, you can always go to our YouTube page after the fact. This show is usually on about 1, 2 o'clock Pacific time, so you can watch the entire show. Whatever you missed, you can fast forward, pause, rewind, and it gives you a good aspect of what you may have missed by listening to the show as opposed to watching it.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments right now, John?
Well, Carla says she kind of hesitates to say it now, but she said this was a great newsletter.
Nice.
I wanted to
That's a great newsletter.
I
Absolutely.
really like all of the energy you're putting into the new newsletters, with the information, with the photographs, with just the, changing of things. You're
There's little
changing
AI
more.
buddies.
You're changing more than you used to, which is awesome.
Well, Brian pointed out that there's an article on dividing cymbidiums, and did you know, part of the newsletter, and Brian says that guy dividing the orchids looks a little bit like me.
I got a little weird about that when I looked at it.
And it does look like him, right?
It does.
And
Exactly.
that's what happens when you tell AI, make the guy in the picture
Make,
look a little bit
make
like
Brian divide an orchid.
So let's do the quote of the week, John. We have a break coming up here, our first break on this fine. Well, if you're watching and listening live, it's a fine Saturday morning. And then we'll take our break and we'll start talking about what we're going to be doing today as far as dividing and conquering. Orchids is our topic today to some degree.
The quote came from one of your favorite people, Brian, Vita Sackville West.
Absolutely.
And she said that the more one gardens, the more one learns. The more one learns, the more one realizes how little one knows.
Oh, absolutely. And that's life in general, right?
Yeah, I've heard that not only applied to gardens, but yeah, it's a true thing for life also.
You will die knowing a lot less than you know. All right, we're going to take a break as the camera shines. As the camera shines on the little orchid setup there, the orchid mix and the table there. We're going to take a break. Biz Talk Radio, Facebook Live. It's Garden America. I'm Brian Main. John Bagnasco, Tiger Palafox. Back after these messages on Biz Talk Radio. Well, we made it. How about that? Back here from Tiger's Backyard, San Diego, California. If you're just tuning in, you've tuned in. It's Garden America, and we are here live on a rather overcast morning. Whatever's going on in your backyard, in your neck of the woods, around the world, across the nation, John, we've got you covered gardening-wise. We did talk about the fact that today we wanted to do some dividing. John, Tiger.
Yep.
Do we want to get into that now?
Well,
do we want to set the stage?
I think we can set the stage because there's some information I think that would be good to give our listeners before we actually showed and talked about how to divide an orchid or a plant. We've talked about orchids a lot before, just of what they are and why they are different than other plants, in terms of where they grow and how they grow. And one of the things that people need to know is that orchids actually don't really need or want to be divided too much, in the sense of they like their roots to be crowded, right, John? Like they like to be in a pot.
I was just wondering if you were offering me an excuse for
I guess
what these orchids.
Oh gosh, well these ones are a bit beyond.
I was going to say that's a bit obvious with what we did this morning, taking them out of the pot.
But I mean, at the same time, a normal plant, when you start to see roots coming out of the pot, you'd be like, I have to divide this. This is getting root bound. It's getting way too crowded.
Yeah,
for an
roots
orchid
are coming out of the pot.
Yeah, for an orchid, you got a couple years left. You can still keep going with it, right?
Well, they're going to survive no matter what. I think for the most part, the only way to kill an orchid, in my experience, is by taking care of it.
Yeah, true.
If you neglect it, it's going to find a way to survive.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to look this up. But for some reason, I'm thinking the orchid family is the largest.
Heard that before too.
It's either orchids or grasses, and I'm thinking it's orchids.
Mm-hmm.
Because one of the things we never think about when you think about orchids is all the hardy orchids.
Mm-hmm.
Hundreds and hundreds of species of hardy orchids. When we orchids there.
That must be, pardon the pun, wild to see that in nature growing like they were.
Yeah, we see wild cyclamen,
Mm-hmm.
and they're little tiny things, and you go up and they're as fragrant as any rose you would ever sniff. So, yeah, to find those things growing out in the wild is pretty cool. Well, you remember when we went to Costa Rica, all those things Tiger pointed out, all the epiphytic plants, just growing up in
wild
trees.
Mm-hmm.
And on another note, this is kind of the same comparison is when we saw the wild parrots, because I'm used to seeing them in a pet shop. I'm used to seeing macaws in somebody's house, not flying around, in the wild. We saw toucans. We saw, various species.
Saw 3 at one point.
Yeah, exactly. But just to see, we pulled into a liquor store to get a sandwich and some drinks, and in the parking lot in the trees were 2 or 3 parrots.
Yeah.
So it's unusual to see that when you're not used to being there or living there. But as you pointed out, to see those growing wild like that must have been spectacular.
Tiger, Lenore wants to know what the orange flowers are from
behind the orchid display that I have. That's a Tacoma. So it's a variety of Tacoma. So, Tacoma,
common name for Tacoma,
Cape honeysuckle.
Cape honeysuckle.
Yeah, and do you know? I was just trying to think of when I saw that question. What is the difference between Lonicera and Tacoma? Lonicera is more the viney one, and no,
they're different species.
Well, you know they're different species, but a lot of people will kind of, aren't they both called like honeysuckles?
Right, but there's a lot of plants that have similar names
Right.
that aren't even related
Okay.
at all.
Okay.
Like Lonicera is, they're hardy to begin with, for the most part. And there's bushy ones, and there are vining ones.
Okay, so there are bushy ones as
Right.
well. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's not because sometimes you can be like, oh well, this one vines like Diplodenia and Mandevilla.
Right.
A lot of people confuse those two, but Diplodenians are more bushy. Mandevilla tend to be more viney.
Right.
Yeah. So okay, but yeah, that's a Tacoma, and there's a lot of varieties of Tacoma coming out right now that are they have the yellow, they have the orange, they have red, bushy. Small, big. They're very hardy,
What
good
is
plants.
My mind just went blank on the genus, but what is giant Burmese honeysuckle?
I think that's the Lonicera, no?
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the few tropical ones I'm
Okay.
familiar with.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a Tacoma right there. It's beautiful. It's in full bloom. It's amazing.
Of this show and say, look at everything that's blooming. Look, it's wintertime. Look at that backyard. Because a lot of people, obviously, you get into November, even before, you're shutting down. You're shutting down. So we'll do that this winter, give you an idea of what it looks like here in San Diego.
You told me to hold the mic away from and talk over it. And
No, just like this. Just like that. Not away, just past it.
Oh,
like
okay. I misunderstood what you instructed me, and Tanya says, don't listen to Brian. You need to hold the mic closer.
that. No, we're talking about an angle. And I don't want to get into logistics here.
Do I have the angle right
But
now? I can't tell.
No, like this. You want to talk past the mic. No, look at me. Look at.
Yeah.
See, like that. I'm talking past the mic.
This way.
So what that'll do, if you tend to pop your P's, give kind of a thumping bass sound, this will help alleviate that. That's all.
I hate
We're
being
getting
a
a little
popper.
buffering too. I'm sorry, that's has
the
to do with the
buffering has
connection.
nothing to do with
No, the
mics.
buffering for the video.
Okay.
Yeah, but I don't know if the audio.
Oh, well, I'm sure will be. People will let us know.
They are.
Oh,
There we go. Okay. So
We got about a minute, by the way, before the break, just so you know.
Regarding that Tacoma too, if you look over by the windmill over, and the people can't see it, that's a yellow one over there. You see in the
Oh,
corner.
yeah, okay, sure.
So and that one's much bigger than the shorter orange one behind us. So
now, is there a difference between Tacoma and Tecomeria?
it's got a much smaller leaf, right? As far as, am I thinking of the right plant? Like same flower, but a much smaller leaf.
With shinier leaves?
Uh-huh. So I don't know if there's a difference.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if one is a genus change.
Or if it's a complete
Right.
species.
Let's take a
I
break.
don't
We're
know.
going to take a break.
All right.
This is the second segment we're finishing up. We are back from the break. Thank you to those tuned in on Biz Talk Radio, Facebook Live. Those on Facebook Live got to see the in-between commercial segment of what we're doing here as we get set up. And now we are back on live. And Tiger, what the heck is John doing? He's got a big knife out. He's got a pot. What is that in front of him anyway? I have no idea what's going on.
So we have a Cymbidium orchid, which, there's a lot of varieties of orchids, Cymbidiums, Phalaenopsis, Dendrobiums, Oncidiums, and Cymbidiums are ones that create kind of like bulbs at the base of the
Right,
plant, and then
right.
they just keep reproducing from the base. And so this is like where we talk about where you get into actually dividing them, because where like a Phalaenopsis will actually grow a whole nother plant off of it from the root system, these ones have bulbs, and they do like their roots to be contained.
They like to be crowded.
They like to be crowded. I'm holding in my hand, though, do they die after they bloom, or do
No,
they keep going?
They're called pseudobulbs, which
Mhm.
means false bulb, right?
Yep.
And they're used for storage. So once that pseudobulb has bloomed, and put out leaves and bloomed, then it's just a storage unit. As they get older, like the ones you have in your hand, they or if you overwater and don't take care of the plant, they rot, and those are no good. And that's one of the things we want to take out as we go through and divide this plant. So we'll be taking that out. Obviously, we'll take out all the grass and the weeds that are in there. So we'll see what we come up with. And I brought this antique Chinese pot to put it in because
It's clay.
Yeah, and they're actually orchid pots,
And
which I think are really cool. I wish you could buy these.
And I would say it's a big thing with the orchid pots.
Look at
is
that.
lots of drainage, lots of
Ventilation?
for airflow through the soil mix or root mix. Because again, if orchids were ever just sitting in water, they would rot out and die, like this bulb, pseudo bulb would. So that's why orchid pots always have holes in the side. There's no soil to retain the moisture, so it's just humidity based around the root system. The difference between using orchid mix and orchid bark has to do with a little bit of the plants that you're planting. So Phalaenopsis normally are in bark, and Oncidiums, Dendrobiums tend to be in soil. Allow that drainage.
And will the bark absorb any of that moisture as well?
It'll absorb it and just because before this he was like, "Oh, I thought you would do this." I'm like, "It's not my plant." So
you do it.
So he's literally sawing the plant in half. And you can see he's not being super delicate with the root system because he's already identified the live parts of the plant that he wants to keep. He's already identified, the divided into multiple plants. So he's just cutting it in half right now to get him the basis of the roots. The only thing you have to be careful with right now when you're doing this is just removing any complete roots. So
I thought you were going to say cutting your fingers.
Yeah, cutting your fingers too, especially if you're using a sharp knife.
Yeah.
But you want to leave some root.
Right, and one of the things I'm trying to do is when you divide us in big and I thought I came across a scorpion.
I was going to say, yeah. What are you finding in there now that you've cut that
It's
open?
amazing what's in there. Anyway, I'm gonna go back to this as Tiger and Brian describe what we're.
Right.
And what he's doing. It's good to kind of note too that you don't need, some people will leave all the roots. So John's pot that he had this orchid in before was a very tall pot. Orchids don't require a very tall pot, and it's funny because the pot he actually brought is very tall as well. A lot of times orchid pots will be shallow because they don't really need the depth. So he doesn't need to leave all the length of the root when he's transplanting. He can cut some of the bottom part off to fit it in. You do just need to probably leave about 4 to 5 inches of root down below the pseudo bulb, just to give it that structure and not shock it as well. And don't be scared. When you do this, the plant will go through some shock. You might even lose a few pseudo bulbs after the fact. You do your transplanting. 2 weeks later, one of the pseudobulbs will die off, maybe because you didn't realize you cut out some of the root system while doing this work.
In other words, you can make a few mistakes, and it's not really going to.
No, it's not going to hurt it too much. Because, and that's why I think also John, mentioned, leaving multiple ones, because if you leave multiple ones, you're going to have more success. Where if you try to get in there and cut out individuals, you're going to probably struggle a little bit more and not be as successful. I think that, what John is doing also is a bit difficult because it's up on a table. a lot of times when you're doing a plant of this size with division, it's
ground.
easy to do it on the ground,
Yeah.
and you can take like a spade or shovel and just drive through it with your foot, which can.
It's a little wobbly table.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
Yeah, he's up against it.
Yeah, so don't be afraid to at home, put it on the ground, drive a spade or shovel through it with your foot to give you that leverage and ability to do it, because doing it on your potting table, you might not have the leverage with some of these, because they're actually very sturdy root systems too. So you got to work with. Another thing, whenever you're dividing the plants, doing it on a day like today where it's a little overcast, a little cool, anytime you can minimize stress on plants whenever you're working with them is going to benefit and have you be more successful. So, working on a division of a plant in 98-degree weather with full sun, you're just going to get that dry, hot weather that eventually could affect the way that it's transplanted. And then especially if you're also then putting it into that environment right afterwards, put it into the sun.
It'll be a little bit of a shock, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you have to
so these are
prevent
more
that.
ideal conditions right now for him
yeah.
to be doing this.
Yeah,
obviously.
and it's ideal because it's easier on you. You're working.
Exactly.
You're not working out in the hot sun and everything like that. It looks like he's got a portion of it all done.
Look
and
how clean that looks.
Yeah, much better. And he's left. What I see about 4 pseudobulbs, 1 brand new one, 1 mature one, and 1 in its kind of like teenage stages, so to speak. So a lot of fun. Being able to kind of get in there and clean it up, and this is part of gardening too, where you have more. Like, you did just see him like toss the whole other portion of the plant behind him,
and he said under his breath, "This is your problem now, Tiger. You
exactly.
take
He's
care
going
of
to
this."
leave it there.
Yeah.
But I mean, if this is a plant you really have enjoyed and you love it, this is also a great opportunity to have something that you share.
Absolutely.
Where now you can give it to a friend or give it as a housewarming gift, and it's something that you have and they have. A lot of people will give them to family members, and now they share this plant wherever they are. So
all this in less than 10 minutes, by the way.
Yeah, very impressive.
I mean, this
John.
is within
Good job
one
on
segment.
working on that. Yeah. You just I got to do this. I got to get out
and
there.
Then once you're out there, you're glad that you're out there doing it.
Yeah. And so the orchid mix.
It should have been done, by the way, in March. Right after they're done blooming. This is the wrong time of year.
But now, because it's the wrong time, how big a deal is that?
The way
John?
I look at it is, if it gets done, that's the right time
Right.
for me, right?
Now,
we got just about less than a minute, Tiger. John,
one of the things that we've talked about, and I think when we get back from the break, we'll hit on this subject a little bit more, because we got to go into it a little bit more in detail.
Sure.
That's when, it's stressed out. The fertilizer will just give it a little bit of help, when it's stressed out, forcing some nutrients into. But orchids are a little bit different, like we've talked about. They don't always require as much fertilizer as we might think other plants do.
Okay, we're going to take a break for our friends on Biz Talk Radio, Facebook Live. Do stay with us. A lot more with what we're doing today, dividing and conquering, orchids, orchid mix, bark, the whole kit and caboodle, as John says, the whole 9 yards. Tiger says it once in a while, too. We are back after these messages on Biz Talk Radio. Stay with us. We are back from the break. Thank you for joining us here on Garden America. I'm Brian Main, along with Tiger Palafox, John Begnasco. So what do you think? About 10 minutes, all in all, for John to do what he just did in front of the camera, live, unless you're listening back to the replay. But on camera live, as he divided the orchid. And
you see me playing with the bug here? What do you call this bug? What do you call this bug?
let me see. Is that one of the... Oh, like when we were kids, we call them roly-polies.
Okay, roly-poly.
But they're
Okay, no. What do you call this bug, John?
Sow bug.
Sow bug.
Yeah.
Or some people
Or
will call
pill
them
bugs.
pill bugs,
Pill
right?
bugs, yeah.
Roly-poly,
Kids
sow
call 'em,
bug,
yeah.
pill bugs.
And that came out of John's Orchid?
There's a whole colony of them
Oh.
that came out of John's Orchid.
Carla wanted to know, she said it looked like I was putting soil in there.
Yeah.
There are terrestrial orchids, cymbidiums are one, and it has to be quick draining, but they do use
Is still very well draining. In this EB Stone Orchid mix is aged fir bark, so it's got bark in there. The lava rock, which is allowing for drainage and everything, and then aged redwood, which is again it's almost like a bark with some lava rock, but it's very fine. Where for those of you that are watching on TV, we have a shot where it cuts to the actual package orchid bark, and again, orchid bark is just another fine bark that you would put in your pots just to hold them in place. Before the break, we were mentioning about, transplanting fertilization. And, some plants, when you transplant them, it's good to fertilize them. A little liquid fertilizer, maybe some kelp meal, maybe some fish emulsion, something that's kind of fast acting that'll go into the root system just to kind of minimize some of the shock when you're doing it. Now, John, we've talked about this before, that there's a lot of products for orchids, fertilizers out there, right?
Right.
But at the end of the day, all fertilizers are just NPK, nitrogen, potash, and phosphorus and potash.
I think the point of that was that you don't need to vary the formula for feeding orchids depending on the time of year.
Yeah.
You don't need okay, this is to encourage roots. This is to encourage bloom. They just use the same amount of fertilizer all year round.
So, yes. Which means that it's kind of lacking some nutrients, go ahead and fertilize it. But orchids, for the most part, don't require a lot of fertilizer. So if it's a very green, healthy looking plant, I don't think you need to fertilize when transplanting.
No, and it takes the plants a little while to adjust to the transplant shock. So fertilizer doesn't always help. And matter of fact, sometimes it can even hurt. But they do have fertilizers that are made just for transplanting. I think it might be EB Stone that makes one called Jumpstart.
Oh,
Have you heard of
fertilizer.
that?
So, John, let me ask you brought up a good point here about transplanting and what the possible detriment could be for fertilizing. Is it because the plant might be in a little weaker state?
Yeah, it's mainly if you're using high nitrogen.
Right,
Brian. It's
right,
the
right,
nitrogen that they can't
and you're
use.
forcing the plant to do something that they've just been transplanted. They're in a little weaker condition to be able to take up all that fertilizer.
Yeah, and so if it was an organic food, that would be better because, that's going to be available as the plant needs it. Where if it's a chemical fertilizer, then you are taking a chance of damaging the plant.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't think that, when you're transplanting orchids, they need, a lot of fertilizer. I don't think they need it. And then the only other thing, like I say, is when you do finish transplanting it, you do want to put it in a protected area for a little bit of time. Even if the plant was kept in it's a very sturdy, tough plant. When you do transplant it, anytime you can kind of, just baby it along. I mean, keep it in a protected area, keep the soil damp, and just until you start to see new growth really developing on the transplanted plant, then you can start moving it into more exposure or a harder area for it to kind of
So
like live
taking
in.
care of kids.
Yeah.
Once you see that you can trust them on their own and they're responsible,
Then you can move them out.
and then leave them alone.
Exactly.
I apologize for the mess I made here, by the way.
No, that's
Well,
what
no,
it's for.
You know
That's
what? If
part
you
of
didn't
it,
make a
right?
mess, we'd be a little suspicious.
Exactly.
No, that's exactly.
How did you like using this knife?
For the first time.
I really like it. My son bought it for me maybe 5 years ago, but it was so nice I never wanted to use it.
So now
But it's perfect for this job.
See?
It's
it really is
made by a company
sturdy.
called Barebones.
Now, is this going to inspire you to do more of this with this knife?
I might do different things with that.
I don't blame
it's
you.
really nice to use.
Yeah. And it feels good in your hands. The way everything about it.
By the way, I didn't want our Idaho buddy, as
Kevin?
you refer to him as Coeur d'Alene Kevin.
Yeah, Coeur d'Alene Kevin, my high school buddy.
But he did make a comment about the newsletter earlier that said one of the things that helps the newsletter is the fact that I write better than Henry David Thoreau.
Wow, how about that, huh?
It's pretty nice.
Quite a comparison.
Yeah, pretty nice comment.
So
So I appreciate that, Kevin. Thanks.
Yeah, Kevin.
Oh no, my son started talking to me as soon as you answered the question from Carla. Can you please hold up the bag of potting mix? Yeah, I think there's a good shot of it now. It's just the EB Stone Orchid potting mix. So again, now with the orchid mixes, John, we talked about how seed starting mix tends to be more sterile. Potting mix tends to have, is not sterile. Is orchid mix, just being lava, redwood fir bark, some orchid bark in there, is it sterile at all? Is that as important or no?
I don't think it's sterilized because the sterile products are heat treated.
Right.
And I don't pathogens in the medium. I think it was Veronica asked earlier what I plugged the holes up on the bottom. I didn't plug them up with anything.
We want that exposure, right?
There was a big hole in the bottom, and I used the top of my coffee cup to cover that. But on the side, if you have holes like that, and I could have done it on here, and it would not have hurt the plant, you can take green moss, long fibered
stuff it in there,
moss, and you can just put it on the sides, and that allows the air to flow through.
Yeah.
Okay, it's break time because we have news coming up top of the hour on Biz Talk Radio. 2 hours on Biz Talk Radio. We hope that you carry one or both hours. And again, we are back at 6 minutes after the news on Biz Talk Radio. Coming back much quicker here on Facebook Live as we continue. Brian Main, John Bagnasco, Tiger Palafox here on Garden America. And we are back, welcoming those on Biz Talk Radio. This is hour number 2 of the Garden America show. If you missed hour 1, if you missed any part of the show, go to our Facebook page or our YouTube channel, Garden America Radio Show, and you can watch all the shows that date back several years. You won't miss anything, or if you saw it once, you may want to see it twice, maybe a third time. We encourage that here. Back on Garden America, broadcasting live, by the way, if you're just joining us, from Tiger's backyard here in San Diego, California.
I want to... Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to mention a longtime friend, Aaron.
Yeah.
Talking about this family of roly-polies that's everywhere. And I apologize for that, Tiger. She said that they give live birth.
Yeah, I was just reading that too.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Watch them give birth.
That's crazy. I would have thought they would have been little eggs and then they hatched into the soil, but no. That's...
You know what I like watching them is when I collect them, a whole bunch of them.
And then also, Tanya had mentioned that the soil mix, this orchid mix, sounds like it would be really good to use for bromeliads as well. And I agree. That would be a great mix for bromeliads because they like the draining.
For terrestrial bromeliads.
Yeah.
You would not want to use it for epiphytes like tillandsias, right?
And then Millie said that she attended a Cymbidium demo local grower, and they recommended calcium nitrate fertilizer after dividing. Who knows? Might have been fine without the fertilizer. And that's exactly right, Millie. It could have been fine without the fertilizer. I will say
that's one that I would not recommend. But I'm not an orchid specialist, you know, and if somebody's an orchid grower and they're successful doing it, I'm not going to tell them not to do it. Just if it works, do it. But that's going to be a salt.
Right.
Which can dry out roots, and nitrates are fast releases.
You're messing with the pH, John.
You don't want to mess with pH.
But I will say, Millie, and because
or as you like to say, messing with.
has not been, in the industry very long. If he was still working in a garden
What do
center,
you mean very long? You mean for a while.
For a while.
Is that what you meant?
He has not been in the industry for a while. Yes,
Yeah.
not very long. Yeah.
Because 50 years
On a-
is a
on a
long
day-
time.
on a day-to-day
This is not very
basis.
long. No, you're just a baby. You're just an infant.
I was
We're all trying to sell things, and one of the hard things with gardening
make money is what you're
is
saying.
is that like what we just said. There's a lot of buying all these things.
Propagating your own plants.
They encourage people to go to the garden center and purchase something and then use it. And as John mentioned, there is a slight chance that it could increase your success or cure your problem. But at the same time, there's a lot of ways that if it just was done naturally, they're going to be just as successful and work out well too. And so, I'm not downplaying this because I still work from the aspect of, I'm trying to sell you guys orchid mix. I'm trying to sell you a fertilizer. I'm trying to sell you a bug spray. If this was me and I saw pill bugs coming out of my soil, I would sell you on something that would kill the pill bugs in the soil.
And do you know what I'm going to do when I get home? I'm going to sprinkle some taro granules in the pot.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean,
If it works for you, if you've done something for a while, don't change it.
Yeah, and but sometimes it's not needed.
Right.
I will say though, with the pill bug thing, I mean, for those of you that were watching the program, that was a very good sized. What was this again?
Cymbidium.
Cymbidium. That was a very good sized cymbidium.
Yeah, it was.
Okay. And
it is.
And pill bugs eat. Wait a minute though. I want to show another plant that John brought. I'm going to bring it on camera.
You're going to do that one too. Now that one is a dendrobium, and it's a variety of a species, and kind of a rare plant, but again it looked just like the cymbidium.
And there we go.
Tiger's trying to get even with me and just block me out because of what I'm doing to his house here. All right, what are you going to say, Tiger?
Well, I mean, that's a very good-looking plant from the standpoint of very mature. It's got a lot of growth on it, and people can see the structure of the pot from what it was in. That's
exactly right.
By the way, if you're watching this on Facebook Live, it is not in a pot, even though it looks like it's in a pot.
It wasn't a ceramic pot.
Compressed soil.
This one I think would be way more difficult to divide because this one here, it's not the same pseudobulbs as the cymbidium,
and doesn't have the rot that the cymbidium had.
Yeah.
So might not come apart as easily.
So you're actually, when you divide this one, you're actually kind of probably lose parts of it.
And I think you have to be a little more gentle, right?
Yeah, I think it's kind of at the point where you're just like, you're going to do what you have to do. There's really not a lot of options besides like cutting it in half and maybe cutting it in half again, and you're going to lose parts of it.
It's called sacrificial division. Is what we like to call it.
Yeah.
But it's such a hardy plant, and if it's under ideal this has been growing in Fallbrook for the last 3 years out in full sun.
Wow.
And it's a part shade plant.
Yeah, that looks really good for
Just
growing
looks
in
a little
full sun.
faded here and there.
Yeah, and for not being as root bound as it was, I didn't have to worry about rot because there was never anywhere for water to sit.
There's no room for rot.
Yeah.
Could you take cuttings off of this plant? Like, could this plant be like? Could I cut off this and root it, or that doesn't happen?
No, you want to take part of the root with you, but there's plenty to take.
Yeah.
And I was telling you, I wanted you to keep part of this because it'll naturalize under our climate conditions. about sunburn at all, and it'll be much happier, and it'll do better. And when it blooms, it puts out 2-foot flower spikes that are just
Beautiful.
Wow.
just 2 to 3 foot, just covered with flowers,
Do they only bloom once a year?
and just in the spring.
Just in the spring?
Yeah.
Okay. And, you know, as this plant, like, would you say it naturalized. So if you could plant it in the ground.
And by naturalize, I don't mean it's going to spread all over your
No,
yard.
no. It
But
means
I mean,
it'll grow.
Acclimate's probably a better word than naturalize.
So this is something I could put in the ground.
No.
So I want to keep it in a pot.
The one I had in at my house on Pepper Tree, you've seen those stumps that I have out in my new place. I had a stump something like that, and it had a hole in the stump. So I put this in there, and I put an orchid bark mix around it. And it was an area that would get sprinkled occasionally.
Okay.
So an area like that, and it would do really well.
Okay. But it's not going to respond well being in soil,
I don't
native
think
soil.
so, especially heavy soil.
Yeah.
Because you can see that it.
Yeah.
We're going to take a
Needs
break,
drainage.
guys.
All
And
right.
when we return, a lot more fun here on Garden America. Brian Main along with John Bagnasco, Tiger Palafox, broadcasting live from Tiger's backyard. And, of course, as always, from San Diego, California, taking a break for our friends on Biz Talk Radio Facebook Live. Back after these very important messages. And a big thank you to our major sponsor, Fertilome. This is Garden America. We are back after that break. We hope it was a good break for you. We enjoyed it. The table's been cleared off or cleaned off just a little bit. Tiger's going to take John's knife because Tiger covets that knife. That
John's
knife
battling
is
bugs
that's
over
a
here.
great knife.
Yeah,
And,
he keeps getting attacked by little bugs crawling around.
So anyway,
At least you know the soil's
Yeah.
alive.
yes, it's teeming with
Life.
life. Yeah.
Jeez. Dirt is dead, soil is alive. So this is
Yeah.
definitely soil.
Exactly.
Oh, I feel so bad about that.
What do you feel bad about? It's what we do.
Hey, Tanya mentioned we don't need to talk about this on the air, but the only reason I'm going to do it is because I don't have a long-term memory.
Yep, for the bee. So anyway, John, as you were mentioning, we've got the system underway, and everything should be good to go. You know, once we finish up with the weekend and we get the planning done and the soil's in place, then I think you can pick up right where you left off.
And just
Take it from there.
John's still reading all the comments.
All right, well, let's see. Carla wants to know if taro granules are okay in pots. Yes, they're okay in pots. And she wanted to know if it was okay for roses. And it's interesting that you ask that, Carla, because I mentioned at the beginning of the show that I was transplanting roses. When I transplant a rose, I put soil in the bottom of the pot, and then I sprinkle a layer of taro granules, and then I put in the whatever I'm putting into the pot. So that eliminates the sow bugs coming from underneath. You know, because I use 1 gallon containers, so the 1 gallon containers have those little slits in the side, little cutouts, and sow bugs can easily go in there. And those are ideal conditions. And if you have a plant that's been around for a while, like Tiger's saying, you can pull that plant out of the pot, and the whole bottoms, the roots have been eaten by sow bugs or earwigs.
And with a rose, especially like a new rose or like one that you're developing from cuttings, they could kill the plant. They could get in there and actually like eat all the root system. And you go in there and like, oh, why did this plant struggle? You pull it up, and the roots are. It's funny because it's not like a gopher. Like people think, oh, it's like a gopher where it's like you go in there and all the root system's eaten away and the plant just falls over. No. When root eating bugs like sow bugs, grubs, and the likes of those, the damage is different. It's almost like the roots are still there,
There's also collateral damage because chewing on the roots exposes the roots. You know, that's an open wound, so it exposes the roots to root funguses or root fungi, to be grammatically correct. Do you know that why plants or why words that end in US, Brian? Do you know why the plural is an I? Like cactus, cacti.
Like cacti.
Fungus, fungi. And sometimes it's an A, like stadium, stadia.
Why?
Sometimes it's because it's Latin, and US is a masculine ending in Latin. So if it's a masculine word, the plural is an I. If it's a feminine word which ends in the plural is usually an A.
No.
Oh,
Look at that.
and you learned that more than 50 years ago.
Yeah. It keeps going today.
Yet ask him about the first segment of our show.
How did we open the show? Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's impressive. That's very impressive.
Yeah.
Stadia.
We usually say stadiums now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
put
as
the
we
S
get
on
away
it.
from the Latin.
Yeah.
You know, another thing now that you mentioned
Are you going to
it-
bring up moose?
Oh, goodness.
No, I'm going to bring up commas.
Oh, the misuse of commas?
Well, because I'm writing a book, right? Just finished a book. And I have a question about that book I wanted to ask, too. Let's see what our listeners think. But when you use the word and, we were always taught you don't have a comma before and.
It's changed.
It has changed.
It has changed.
Why?
And you know what? You know what else that we were taught you could never do is begin a sentence with because. And I think they've thrown that out the window as well. Yeah, I
Well, you
remember.
could never begin a sentence with and I see that happening sometimes, too.
Yeah,
You could never begin a sentence with a conjunction, right?
right. Conjunction Junction, right? There was a TV show.
That was petticoat junction.
No, there was
There was a conjunction.
Was
there was
there?
a kid show back in the 70s to teach you. In other words, it was fun to watch, but you were learning something and didn't really know it.
Like romper room?
No, this has nothing to do with
It's more
romper.
advanced than
Conjunction
romper room.
Junction. Yeah, you were a doobie, weren't you?
A doobie?
Yeah.
Do be or don't be.
Don't be.
Oh.
Yeah. We know what
Anyway, just quick, aside from gardening, I'm putting the finishing touches on my book. It's pretty much all been written. But I'm wondering what some of our listeners might think is that in my book, I have a title for each chapter. And I noticed that more recent books, none of the chapters are titled. You know, especially like thrillers and John Grisham books and stuff like that. So I'm wondering, do our listeners like seeing the title of a chapter?
Right. As you turn the page and begin a new
Right.
a new part of the book.
Yeah, and I have a title with an epigraph. You know, so there's a little quote, which I get from our newsletters,
Right.
from doing it for our newsletters, not from our newsletters.
So should
just
chapters
wondered.
of books have titles?
Yeah. And do you appreciate it, or do you think that's extraneous and it bothers you?
So this was something I kind of think I learned a lot about when you were talking about not just the title of the chapter, but you actually had an image at the beginning of each chapter too. And I think that this is a big difference between male and female readers. I like to have a book, a movie, a story tell me the whole thing. I want to know the ending. I want to know
Before you?
No, not before. Oh goodness, that's our pool vacuum. Scared Brian.
Brian was clearing his throat over there.
I thought Lloyd Bridges was coming up out of the underwater.
But I want to know like the reason why I'm reading a book or watching a movie is because I'm to be entertained. I don't like those books or movies that leave the ending or there to be a question.
No, or they say, we're going to leave that up to you to
Yeah,
decide,
as the reader.
what happened. Now, I want to get back to that chapter thing for a second because I thought about this, John. That can be an enticement to continue reading the book or to go into that chapter because if you give it...
the wrong title.
Well, no, but if you give it a title like,
Ooh, this is good.
Like the one I wrote yesterday, which was The Congress of Quiet Hours.
Okay, yeah, I
Great
might want to know
title, huh?
what that.
Yeah,
what is
sounds
that
interesting
about?
to me.
So I'm going to continue to read it. If there's nothing to set me up like that, I may put the book down because okay, I'm done with that chapter. Who knows when I'm going to get back to it? But if you give me a title like that, I'm more inclined to say I want to find out more about this.
But
My mother read a lot, and I think maybe that's where I got my desire for reading from. But she read a lot, and she always read the last 4 pages of the book before she'd start.
Why?
And well, that I asked her that, and she said, "I'm not going to waste my time reading a whole book if I don't like the way it ends." And to me, that kind of spoils it. But
Well, then
every book she ever read, she read that way.
we got to take a break here. Running
okay.
a little bit late here. Back after these messages on Biz Talk Radio. Stay with us. This is Garden America. Okay, we are back. We have 2 more segments to go. This one here, the one that we're kicking off, is one of our longer segments. I guess we could call these, instead of calling them segments, they're going to be chapters.
And we're
These
going
are
to put titles at the
chapters
beginning
from
of
now
each
on.
one. I will say, though, what John was describing as far as whether people like to leave it up to their imagination or whether they like to be told what something is. Now, to bring this back into gardening, one of the things that I noticed has changed over the years with gardening industry, people will not buy a plant without it either in bloom or a photo of what that plant or flower looks like. Meaning, it used to be that you used to go to a garden center, and if plants were in bloom, they were spent. If you were buying plants in bloom,
right.
you did not buy petunias in bloom. You did not buy impatiens in
It's
bloom.
like adopting a 12-year-old kid.
It is. It's already way into its growing phase.
Yes.
And I wouldn't say you wouldn't. Sorry, I just let that slide. That's bad. But I would say, like, people were like, if I need to buy the plant when it's young so
Right.
I can get its full life in my garden.
Yeah.
Right.
Nowadays, if it's not blooming in the garden center, they don't buy it. And at the same time, okay, they can understand, well, they're buying a plant early. Like, for instance, a tomato. They're not going to wait for it to have tomatoes on it before they buy it. But they definitely need to see a picture of what the tomato will look like. Because even if it has a description, they still don't do it. They still won't buy it. It has to have a photo of whatever pepper, whatever tomato, whatever flower.
Well, how many places sell vegetables with fruit on them?
Yeah.
Where you get a large size pepper plant with peppers on it, or a tomato starting to fruit.
You're talking
Yeah.
more like blooming plants, right? Flowers.
Well, no, but I'm talking about the tomatoes. Like we
Yeah.
will sell a 5-gallon tomato at the nursery sometimes, and it has fruit on it,
Yeah.
and people will buy it. And
It used to be really popular, and I haven't seen them forever, so I don't know if they still sell them. But they always used to come out early with patio tomatoes.
yeah.
Do you guys still sell those?
We don't sell them
What
as
is
much,
it?
but
What
they
is
used
a
to.
patio
Right.
tomato?
It was a short determinate variety that you could sell in a 1-gallon pot, and it would have fruit on it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
But the fruit tasted terrible.
Yeah.
So because of that, I don't think people plant them as much anymore.
Yeah, they started it's a really cool concept, but at the end of the day, it wasn't exactly what you wanted. Just the fact that you had tomatoes wasn't always worth the poor tasting fruit. So,
are people more visual now? I mean,
well, I think it really is, and it's sad because there's a lot of things out there.
Remember, we would refuse the shipment of bedding plants if
who want to garden, it's better to go in early, buy the plants early, plant them. You're going to have them be more successful. They're going to flower more. For instance,
you're
because
going to be more responsible for the plant as well.
Well, but we're just talking about dividing the plants right now. You'd rather plant a plant in your garden and have it grow into bloom because you're going to be more successful that way. Where if you plant a plant that's already blooming in your garden, like it's in full bloom, you plant that in your garden, well, 2 or 3 weeks later, sometimes days later, it will drop all those blooms because you transplanted it.
Right.
And, it's...
And younger plants usually transplant easy.
Yes.
I
So-
remember when
I want to bring that back. I want to bring back early gardening.
Well, years ago, when I took my daughter as an exchange student to New Zealand, she got a job in a nursery part-time. I think the second time she went back. But she said that if they're on their bedding plant table, when the plants started to bloom, they threw them out.
Yeah.
That people would, and matter of fact, she said sometimes they bought them without leaves, just cotyledons, where the seed had just sprouted. And that's the way people bought bedding plants.
Yeah, that might be a little bit tough because you take that home and transplant it, and
Yeah, right.
there's a good chance that somebody's going to kill it. But definitely,
I don't know. Things change over the years. I used to be, what were they called? Mud flats?
Yes, mud flats.
They don't sell those anymore, do they?
I think City Farmers Nursery still does
Really?
that. Yes, because they do a lot of their own like vegetable growing, seed
And they
growing.
were trays of plants, bedding plants or vegetables, that had no individual trays within them.
Yeah.
And you would go to the garden center and they would cut out. You'd say, I want 6 tomatoes. They would pull up this flat of tomatoes. And back then they were all wood flats. And they would cut out 6 plants and then give them to you.
And give them to you. And how would they give them to you? In any kind of bag, or what would they?
I think what they would do would be to wrap them in newspaper, as I recall.
Yeah.
Now they don't have newspaper.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
right.
back then there was no. When Brian and I grew up, there was no plastic.
Yeah, it's true.
Brian's toys were all made out of Bakelite.
What? What is it, bagels? They were made out of bagels?
I just shake my head and agree. Half the time.
Bakelite was the first plastic.
Oh, okay.
And it was a brittle.
Very
type.
brittle, break easy.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Now, so Widener's. I think until she sold the business, Evelyn, they would have the dig your own begonia.
Oh yeah, they would have a lot of dig your own.
Right, dig your own begonia. Right? You used to go over there. They would have a row of begonias in the ground in a planter, and you would just go in there and dig out your own ones, and then you would buy individual plants.
That was my first wake-up call to gardening in California.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I moved out here from Michigan, and it was a 1st of July.
1977?
1977, right. And I read that they were having a dig-your-own begonia sale at Widener's. And so my wife and I drove out there. We were renting a house in San Marcos at the time. We went to Widener's, and spectacular begonias, right? Just huge tuberous begonias.
Yeah.
Camellia flowering begonias. So we dug them out, brought them to a house in San Marcos, planted them, and over the 4th of July weekend, there was a Santa Ana, and everyone burned to a crisp.
Oh, man.
It was like, I thought you could grow anything in California.
Any time.
Yeah, under 100 degrees.
Yeah. I think I might try to bring that back. I'm going to try to bring back. I'm gonna model my nursery over an old school nursery in the years to come, where we're not going to have blooming plants. We're not going to have, cell packs of plants.
Well, what you're talking about is opening up a seed store.
Exactly. That's what I'm going to do. It's way easier than a nursery.
You don't have to water.
You don't have to water it. You don't have to do anything.
Just put up a few before and after pictures.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's all going to be based on photography.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I like the general consensus, and Lila, thanks for your comment. Everybody says that the titles entice you to keep on reading.
Yeah,
All right.
exactly.
There you
It's
go.
a little tease. Speaking of that, of like endings that are kind of leave you hanging, as Dana and I watch a lot more reruns from the 60s and 70s, running into that a little bit, where it's getting toward the end, and then they caught the criminal, but there's a lot of things that are left like what happened to the wife, what happened to the guy that was shot, what happened to so many things that happened that they don't tie that nice little ribbon on in the end and give you the finished package.
Yeah, I need that.
And of course the excuse, right? Well, we leave that up to the listener or the viewer to decide what happened.
Yeah, we want you to decide.
Don't leave it up to me.
Are they dead or are they not?
Tell me.
No. I paid $15 to watch
Tell
this.
me
I
what
want
happens.
an ending.
And there's even alternate endings now, in movies and stuff.
Well, that is the funny thing, right? People don't realize is that a movie will go through a series of views, and what the original movie thought to be could be different
Right.
than what's actually sent to us
Yeah,
because
exactly.
people watched it before us and
It's
told
like
them
bonus
"Eh."
footage when we used to buy the DVDs.
Yeah.
Edited scenes.
Exactly.
Hey, I
Coming up out of the deep.
I know. I wonder if people can hear it on the air.
Tiger didn't tell us he had a pet kraken.
oh, he's got the cave for the Kraken and everything.
Yeah, it went silent.
Yeah.
It's underwater.
But anyway, going back to
You were going to offend somebody? I'm sorry.
no, I wanted to. We talked about it, and I think I agree with everybody. So I'm going to keep the title.
Yeah, with the title of chapters. Yeah.
But the one thing I'm still up in the air about is every chapter I also start with a line drawing. And I've probably interviewed maybe 50, 60 people on this. So I kind of wonder what our listeners say. But on the line drawings, I'm finding out that for the most part, men like them, women don't. And younger people like them, older people don't. And some of the comments I get is, I like to picture the scene or what the characters look like in my own mind, and a line drawing is distracting.
We're gonna take a break.
All right.
We have one- we have
just
one more
wonder what
chapter.
people think of.
Chapter here as Garden America continues. Stay with us. Okay, we are back for our final segment or chapter as we've been discussing whether chapters in books should have titles. And John was talking about line drawings
We're
to kind
getting
of give
close
you a
to the
visual.
epilogue, right?
Absolutely, the epilogue. A Quinn Martin production. Think Fugitive back in the day.
I think I asked you guys before, and you said you liked the line drawings.
I like line
Yeah.
drawings. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
mind.
I like them.
So, but
Well, it's like radio, right? Theater of the mind. How many people did you grow up listening to? A jock on the air,
Right.
and the first time you saw him, you went, "Whoa, that does not look like anything I thought you would
well, that's
look
exactly.
like." You sound different than you look.
Yeah.
And younger people tell me, no, I like the drawings because it gives me an idea of what they look like.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's an age thing or.
You know what? Everyone's different. Just go with your gut. Do what you want to do.
I don't know. Somebody told me
You're trying to please everybody, John.
You be you, John.
you do you.
You do you.
What to take a line from Ricky Nelson's garden party, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. I don't know what you're talking about.
Go ahead, John. Tell them what it is. You know, you can't please you can't please everyone, so please yourself. To paraphrase, it's true.
Yeah. I think it's you can't please everyone, so you got to please
Got to
yourself.
please yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think, John, that we've had a very mild summer here in Southern California?
Until the last month.
You think
too.
no, but even then, I mean, what do you think?
August was hot.
Okay.
We had some in Fallbrook.
Okay.
We had some 100-degree days,
Mm-hmm.
near 100. Maybe 99, 100, something like that. But so far, compared to other years, I
Maybe.
would say generally mild.
Yeah,
Yes,
generally.
I agree.
A few days slipped in there, but generally. Now look at this morning here. It's already closing in on what 9:30 our time,
Yeah,
Pacific
yeah.
time. Still a bit chilly for the
Right.
most part. Not bad. You can wear short sleeves as Tiger is.
Yeah.
Back at the beginning of the broadcast, when we were discussing how there was I think I mentioned there was a 10% chance of rain today.
Down to 2% now, John.
Yeah, Tanya said she was told that when you look on your phone and you see 10%, that doesn't mean a 10% chance of rain, but it means that the area you're in, 10% of that area will get rain.
Yeah, that's what I've heard too.
Really?
And,
I've heard
and
that
here's the
before.
problem. You don't know which 10% they're referring to.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right?
Yeah,
Like,
right?
like for instance, when they say San Diego is going to get 10% chance of rain. Well, are they talking San Diego County? Are they talking
Right.
the city of San Diego? That
That's
kind of a thing.
10% of the areas?
Yeah,
I don't. To me, that sounds like you're hedging your bets. Why even?
put a percentage.
Yeah, yeah.
I think because I mean, it's all a guess. It's all a guess right now.
How about
for
this? A
them.
10% chance that it won't rain.
Yeah. Have you ever seen when they show the hurricane model on the screen where they say, okay, we ran it through all these hurricane models.
Are these women, these models?
No. But they say that we ran this hurricane through all these models.
Right.
They show, I don't know, maybe 30 lines on the screen of where this hurricane's going to go, and you've got a path that it's very likely to go.
Right.
But then you always see this little outlier, line just straggling up there or here, and you're like, well, but what about that? What about that line over there that's going straight over? Whatever, and they're like, well, there's a chance.
Pay no attention to that.
Yeah, there's a chance.
I think we have some hurricanes building right now. Don't
We do. They were just commenting on because we're getting into the season.
It's the
for
season.
it.
It's hurricane season.
Yeah.
Remember when we had all those listeners and the growers in Florida that got hit? Tatiana. Got hit real bad, and her nursery got hit real bad there in Florida.
Any new names for these hurricanes now? Any creative names?
Creative. I think they just recycle them, right? Don't they do? I guess they have to.
I have a
when they
creative
retire
name.
a name.
Do
you know up until what, John? How many years ago hurricanes always had female names,
Right.
and then they changed it. So those are himicanes, right?
Exactly. Yeah. They were called hurricanes for a reason, right?
Yeah. Now they're himicanes.
Unless you're in Asia, then they're called typhoons.
Typhoons and cyclone. Well, cyclone. Okay, cyclone is what? Wizard of Oz.
Tornado.
It's tornado, but you're right.
Cyclones and tornadoes. Typhoons are
Typhoons. Yeah. different
Hurricanes
parts
out of the
world.
Atlantic, or not at the Atlantic.
Pacific.
Pacific.
Yeah.
Yes.
Boy, typhoon just sounds more dangerous. Just a typhoon.
It sounds rich to me.
Does it?
Like a tycoon.
Like a tycoon.
Like he's a typhoon. He's got a lot of money. He's a big typhoon.
Yeah, the typhoons. Yeah.
Oh. It's either the people who don't like drawings
It's
or
your
not
book.
or not being vocal.
I
so
think
you're
I'll
only
probably go with what the publisher says. We'll publish your book if you get rid of these drawings.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Done.
I'll do it.
That's funny.
And the only reason they say that is because if they think that people don't like it, they're not going to buy the book and they're going to lose money.
Yeah.
It's not that they're after your best interest.
Right. Right.
Yeah. There's a lot of research that goes.
We got
into
a couple minutes here just to keep you on track. And
What are we going to
wow.
do next week?
We're going to
Great
move
question.
up halfway back, not halfway back.
I thought you said we were moving down there.
Yeah,
towards
but
the
I
pool
don't
house.
know.
Yeah, we gotta. I gotta figure some stuff out for sure this week, right?
You've got to see if everything meshes.
Exactly.
So basically,
the mesh is meshing.
Basically, these are we used to call them boosters.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
That's exactly what it is. It's a mesh system that you have a base and then you kind of carry it through.
It's like cell towers.
Yeah, but the farther you get, the more risk you run of having it be a weaker
So
connection.
we're probably right on the precipice of that
Correct.
weakness which you referred to.
Yeah, exactly.
John wanted me to use the word precipice today, so
Yeah, that was the
waited
challenge word.
till the end of the show.
That was the challenge
we have to
word.
wrap things up here. We've got about a minute to go. So hey, other than an unexpected halftime today.
Yeah. Send me your pictures, by the way. Everybody said they appreciated seeing the ones we put in the
Oh,
newsletter.
the hummingbird up in the tree.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Lady
a good
X, and then yours, John.
Right. But the reason that we did that is because I had no pictures last week for the first time in 15 years.
Uh-oh.
John at gardenamerica.com.
Yeah.
Send your pictures, please. Hey, that's going to do it. Thank you so much, Tiger. Thank you again for being a great host in your backyard. We'll do it again next week. So until then, have a great rest of your weekend. Enjoy your week. And let's hope that the floods and the water doesn't rise too high and we all stay dry. Take care. This has been Garden America. I'm Brian Main, John Bagnasco, Tiger Palafox. We are back again next week right here, Tiger's Backyard on Garden America. Take care.